Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the big books tag, which is probably one of the easiest tags that I've ever come across. Basically, you pull the 5 biggest books that you've read off of your bookshelves and talk about them, and then you find the 5 biggest books that you have not read on your bookshelves and talk about them. But before we go ahead and get on into the tag, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box below for links to all of my social media, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon, where you can be entered into winning book giveaways from me. So I did modify this tag, and I'll tell you the reason why. So I use Goodreads, and if you didn't know, you can actually sort by like page number. So if you go into like all of your read books, all the way at the bottom, it's like a filter. So I used the filter, I searched that way, and of course, the longest books that came up were Brandon Sanderson's. So in order for me not to talk about the Stormlight Archives for 4 out of the 5 books, I just chose the biggest Stormlight Archive book. And then the same thing with Wheel of Time, because all of the Wheel of Time books came up. So I just chose one from Wheel of Time and then kind of continue the list from there, just so you guys wouldn't get like super bored. So starting with my biggest book I have read is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I read this last year. In fact, I read the entire Stormlight Archives last year. That's published thus far. And this book comes in at 1,230 pages, and that does include all of the appendixes in the back. So I think I've done reviews for every single one of Brandon Sanderson's books that I've read in the Stormlight universe except for Oathbringer. And I also did a live show with a couple of cool booktubers about this book. So I'll link that up in the cards if you're interested in checking it out. But I really loved Rhythm of War. Words of Radiance is definitely my favorite, and Rhythm of War comes in at a close second, then Way of Kings, then Oathbringer. But I can't wait till book 5 comes out. This world was just so much more expanded in this book, and oh my god, that ending with Taravangian, was not expecting that. So, biggest book page-wise that I own. Next is a book that I don't keep on my main shelves here, but I have read it, so I did want to include it, and that is the Mists of Avalon by Marion Bradley. This is a Camelot retelling, and it follows the rise and fall of Camelot, but it follows it through the eyes and perspectives of 3 different women, if I remember correctly. King Arthur's wife, the Lady of the Lake, and a priestess from Avalon. And it's been years and years since I've read this. So this was actually a book that I found like in my house when I was a young teenager. It was my mom's. I don't know if she ever read it, so I read it. And I have not reread it since, even though I love Arthurian retellings, because there is a lot of controversy around this author and being part of like child abuse. So I can't really justify rereading this because I just have like a bad taste in my mouth about the author now. And usually I don't kind of let that stuff affect me, but I mean, abusing children just isn't okay. So, but I did read this book. I love Arthurian retellings. I remember really enjoying it, and it's a very immersive tale, very long. It follows many years and many events, and I really wish that I could read more in this universe. I just don't think I can. But this comes in second place at 1,009 pages. Then we have Lord of Chaos by Robert Jordan at 1,011 pages, but that does include the glossary. And this is book 6 in the Wheel of Time series. It's the last book that I've read. I need to read book 7. I just haven't gotten around to it. But out of all of the Wheel of Time books that I've read, this is the longest, and it's really all I have to say about it. Next, we have The Burning White by Brent Weeks. This is book 5 in his Lightbringer series. This comes in at 960 pages. I finished this series up in 2019, and it's one of my favorites. I really loved it. I loved the character transformations that these characters went through, specifically Kip and Karis. And then Andros is definitely one of my most hated villains of all time, and he is so well written. I love the magic in this world. It has to do with light and people being able to use light, turn it into substances, build things with it, and it's just so well crafted and unique, like nothing I've ever read before. And it's a series that I could definitely see myself rereading, and I really love the audiobook. Simon Vance narrated the entire series, and he's awesome, so definitely one of my favorite fantasy series. And last we have To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini at 878 pages, and I read this book earlier this year and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. It surprised me. I loved the world. The science was so well written and believable. Just the futuristic technology was very well researched. The characters were awesome. The alien species were awesome. As you can tell, I really enjoyed this book, and I do have a full review. If you have not seen it already, I'll link it up in the cards, but I can't wait for this author to put out more in this universe because I think he's planning on doing that. I don't know if it's going to follow the same characters or if it's just going to be in the same world, but I'm totally going to read whatever he puts out in the Fractal universe. Now on to the books that I own but haven't read. The first one is A Memory of Light by Robert Jordan. This is book 14 in the Wheel of Time series, and it is obviously the longest at 1,140 pages. I think, let me just double check. I think it's 1,140. 1,150. So I can see why the finale in such an epic series would be so long, as all those loose ties are wrapped up, and we'll see if I ever get to it. Then we have Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss at 1,107 pages. This is the sequel to Name of the Wind, which is a book that I read about a decade ago and I DNF'd. And it's a book that I want to try again, and I am so committed to trying it again that I bought the sequel. And from what I remember, it follows a guy who is a musician and he works at an inn, and he is slowly recounting the story of his life. He either has magic or worked under someone magical or was part of like nobility. I don't remember. I really don't remember anything about the book. So it is one that I do want to give a second chance, and if I like it, I'll definitely be reading the sequel. Then this one I was not expecting, and that is Inheritance by Christopher Paolini at 860 pages, I believe. Yeah, but this is book 4 in his Inheritance cycle, which is a young adult kind of middle grade story. And I have only read Aragon. I read it many years ago, and I always wanted to continue the series and just haven't gotten around to it. But it follows a boy, like traditional fantasy trope about a boy who comes from a lowly background, and he discovers a dragon egg, raises the dragon, they become like, you know, bonded. And I remember liking Aragon. I do want to finish the series eventually. It's just not a priority right now. I just didn't realize that the last book in the series was as big as it is. But then we have Otherland, A Mountain of Black Glass by Tad Williams. This is book, I think, 3 in his Otherland series. And I read the first book years ago. In fact, I've read it twice, and I just never continued the series. And it's been so long that I need to do a third reread of it before I need to continue on with the series. And I picked up all of the books used, but from what I remember, it follows a world where virtual reality is very prevalent, and a lot of these kids are engaging in like these virtual reality activities, and the main character's brother goes missing, and she thinks it has to do with this virtual reality club called Mr. J's or Mr. Jester's or something. So she employs the help of some people, I don't remember who, to investigate what's going on. That's all I remember about it. I'm sure that it is way more complicated than that. It's a series that I do want to finish at some point, just not a priority right now. And this book comes in at 749 pages. Hey guys, editing me here. So when I was going through this video, I didn't realize that my camera had cut off towards the end when I was talking about my last big book that I haven't read. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a clip in here. So the last big book I own of a new series that I haven't read is Ruin, which is book 3 in the Faithful and the Fallen Quartet by John Gwynne. This comes in at 746 pages. There was actually some other answers that had to do with Wheel of Time and also the Christopher Paolini series. You guys can't see, but I told you I was going to choose books from different series. So I'm currently reading Valor. I'm halfway through it. So next book in the series is definitely a chunker. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the big books tag. Let me know in the comments some of the biggest books that you own or that you have read, and I will see y'all soon in another video. Goodbye. Thank you.